Everybody, it's Jason with Parallel Reality coming back with you today with an article from Spiked Online. It's another, I've heard of them, but another website that I don't usually go to, but found this, I think, via X. And it is from, when is this from? Does it say? May 1st. Titled here, and it just keep popping up. I got rid of them before I started recording, and they just keep popping up. Let's get rid of them. All right. Title is They Aren't Revolutionaries, They're Bigoted Brats. And I did a video very recently about, well, it wasn't necessarily about these three, but it was an article. Jordan Schachtel on his X account has basically a lot of what was in the the video that I did, because it was based on his article. And oh, look, the ad popped up again. It's about these three and just who they are, and they're all like radical extremists. So yeah, so let's just go ahead and get into this. It says the Columbia cranks rant about killing Zionists 1 minute and demand hot meals the next. So let's go down here. It says, if you want to know what's driving the Israelophobic protests and occupations at New York's Columbia University and many more elite campuses across America, get a load of this clip that has been doing the rounds on social media for the past 24 hours. And it links to the Post-Millennial. And I have a feeling I know which clip it is. It's going to be, I think this picture up here is a screen print from that particular video. It says, in it, one Joanna King Slutsky, who, again, scrolling up, is this woman right here with the glasses, spokesperson for the occupation of Columbia's Hamilton Hall, which was forcibly ended by the New York City Police Department last night. So that would have been, again, articles from May 1st, so that's from April 30th, is when the New York City Police ended it. So there were around 100 arrests, issues her and her comrades' demands. On top of Columbia divesting from Israel and such, King Slutsky also demanded meals and water. As if she's in a position for it, but okay. It says, apparently, Columbia was refusing to allow students who were then breaking windows and barricading themselves inside Hamilton Hall to access their usual canteen grub. We're saying that Columbia is obligated to provide food to students who have paid for a meal plan here, King Slutsky told a skeptical press conference. Yeah, there was one question that someone asked her about. I can't remember what the question was, but it made her look like a complete fool. I'd recommend going to watch that press conference because it is really funny, because she's so over her head and making demands that she just doesn't have a right to make. So it says, when pushed, she said that they were only asking that supplies be allowed to be brought in. And she said, do you want students to die of dehydration and starvation or get severely ill even if they disagree with you? I mean, it's crazy to say because we're on an Ivy League campus, but this is like a basic humanitarian aid we're asking for. Like, could people please have a glass of water? So she's going to play on your empathy here. And it's not that anyone wants you to die. It's just, why should we give in to your demands? And plus, like, you did this. You started this. Like, if the university is going, we're not going to give you these things because you're doing stuff that's basically illegal or we disagree with, well, I don't really have a problem with that. Anyway, it says, it's all there. The whinging cadence, yeah, listen to her talk too. It's kind of like type attitude. So it says the like-strewn patter, the obligatory keffiyeh, the industrial-strength victimhood, the bloke in a crop top stood behind her. King Slutsky and company are the picture of trustafarians in revolt. Their anti-Israel bigotry is matched only by their profound sense of entitlement. How dare the university not provide adequate refreshments while we are smashing shit up? There are plenty of people today likening the Columbia meal planners to their 60s forebears, in particular to the Columbia radicals who mounted their own disruptive demos in 1968. Sadly, even some veterans of 60s activism are flattering today's privileged brats with the comparison. But it's bollocks. When Columbia students occupied Hamilton Hall and other buildings in April 1968, they did so to oppose the Vietnam War and university plans to build a gymnasium in nearby Harlem, which students argued would effectively be segregated. After a week, police moved in and arrested 700 students. Today, Columbia students and their off-campus heavies aren't opposing war exactly. Yes, they oppose Israel's assault on the genocidal lunatics of Hamas, following the Islamist terrorists' vicious pogrom on October 7th. Excuse me, frog in the throat all of a sudden. But they seem pretty relaxed about warfare against the state of Israel. We don't want no two states, we want all of it, they chant. Never forget 7th October. 7th October is going to be every effing day for you. You ready? Screech one racist, see you next Tuesday outside the gates. Wow, they actually published that word in here. Okay, and some of the swears as well. All right. I guess I need to come back to this site more often. So therein lies another crucial difference between 1968 and today. Today's students aren't fighting racism, they are luxuriating in it. Kamani James, a leader of the Columbia protests, posted a video to social media the other week saying Zionists don't deserve to live. I don't fight to injure or for there to be a winner or loser. I fight to kill, he said, fantasizing about having a scrap with one of those awful Jews. Says given the vast majority of Jews are Zionists, they're really not over-egging it. I've never heard that word before. It says elsewhere, we've seen protesters chant, "Go back to Poland" at Jewish Colombians and hold up homemade signs stating Al-Qassam's next targets, pointing to a group of Israeli flag-waving students. The Al-Qassam brigades being Hamas's military wing. An Arab Israeli was also punched outside Colombia recently by activists brandishing the pro-Hamas triangle symbol. The author says, I'm willing to concede that some of this unvarnished, violent hatred is being carried out by off-campus Antifa types, which we actually know, as is routinely alleged by the protesters' apologists. Not least because King Slutsky and your man in his crop top look like they couldn't fight their way out of a ball pit. No, they'd probably be some of the first to go if anything like that ever happened. But activists' alarmingly high tolerance for virulent anti-Semitism, their total lack of condemnation of Hamas, or its many campus fanboys speaks volumes, as does their expectation of water and spagball. Was it spagball? I don't know what that is. And their apparent shock and horror when the police were called in. The Columbia protesters and their supporters are now trying to portray the clearance of Hamilton Hall as an affront to freedom of speech, which that's not freedom of speech, guys, if you knew what that actually meant. This free speech is supposed to be prized on campus, one student told Al Jazeera last night. Al Jazeera, that bastion of truth-telling, especially with the Israel-Hamas situation. I'm sure they're just a font of truth in that whole thing. It says, being concerned about a heavy-handed response to these demos is one thing. The governor ordered crackdown on protests at University of Texas at Austin, for example, and has been nakedly authoritarian and censorious. But there is no inalienable right to break into and occupy university buildings, nor is there an inalienable right to constantly harass Jewish students as they try to move around campus. As the Foundation for Individual Rights and Expression, or FIRE, points out, civil disobedience is not the same as expressing an opinion or engaging in peaceful protest. That's correct. The whole point of it is to break the rules. Indeed, it derives expressive power from the willingness of participants to accept the consequences of breaking the rules. That these students and junior academics are shocked to be handcuffed for breaking the law reveals a profound sense of entitlement among young radicals. So we shouldn't be surprised. FIRE President Greg Lukianoff has pointed to two dispiriting parallel trends in American universities: a willingness to curtail free speech, all while giving a green light to violent, intolerant protests. At the University of California, Berkeley, where students rioted in 2017 because that tiresome weirdo Milo Yiannopoulos was speaking, the university showed cowardice in its unwillingness to punish the rioters, writes Lukianoff, and Angel Eduardo in a recent op-ed. It says, we saw a recent similarly rank capitulation at Evergreen State that same year, where marauding students were effectively allowed to chase professors Brett Weinstein and Heather Hying off campus. Since then, shutdowns and shoutdowns have become commonplace, they write. Yeah, go look into this Brett Weinstein thing. I don't know if anybody out there follows him on X. He's an extremely smart person. I think Heather Hying might actually be his wife, if I'm remembering correctly. But I read this story back then when it happened, and it was just like an eye-opening sort of thing. But definitely click on the link. The article is linked below. Click on this link here to go check that out, because it'll kind of make you go, whoa. So some critics of campus cancel culture have been caught off guard by the pro-Hamas protests. Almost a decade ago, they observed, we were all gawping at the Yale snowflakes, those absurd Ivy Leaguers who went into open, teary-eyed revolt because academic Erica Christakis sent them an email saying they should chill out about offensive Halloween costumes. How did babyish offense-taking give way to open support for anti-Semitic terrorists? But it all makes a perverse kind of sense. Students taught that freedom of speech is a form of violence have begun to see violence as a form of free speech. Young radicals reared on a crude, conspiratorial, racial identity politics have begun to apply it to geopolitics with predictably anti-Semitic results. A new generation of elite youth, overprotected and indulged in equal measure, have come to think they can do no wrong. So let's retire the 60s comparisons. In 1964, when Mario Savio, civil rights activist and student leader of the free speech movement, was leading a campaign of civil disobedience aimed at liberating Berkeley students from censorship, his cause was just, and he was happy to suffer the consequences of his methods. There is a time when the operation of the machine becomes so odious, he famously said. You've got to put up your bodies upon the gears and upon the wheels. You've got to make it stop. Meal plans did not get a mention. And at the same time, let's not pretend today's revolting students just appeared, fully formed from the womb. They are the products of an academic and upper-class culture that has kindled their prejudices and inflamed their intolerance. They aren't revolutionaries. They're bigoted brats, and they've been pandered to for far too long. Well said, Tom Slater, author of this particular article. Very, very well said. And here is just a look at your bigoted brats. And again, that previous video I had talks about what that I mentioned earlier. Talks about this woman. This dude here, who I guess is a member of Queers for Palestine, or as everybody should be calling them, Chickens for KFC. And then this woman here, who is a leader of that Students for Justice in Palestine movement, which is a radical Islamist movement and is linked to Hamas. So, yeah, so these are not good people. And she's a Marxist, so that automatically means she's not a good people. So what do you think about this? I mean, do you agree with the author of the article? I certainly do. This is pretty much says it all right here. Let me know what you think about this in the comments below. Like, share, subscribe, and I'll talk to you soon.